What if you're questioning your performance based on the score that started accumulating before you entered the game? Principle number one, you inherit expectations you didn't create. Think about a basketball game. You walk into the arena at halftime. You look up at the scoreboard. Home 52, visitors 31, and you're playing for the visiting team. The coach looks at you and says, "You're in." Wait a minute. You didn't miss those shots. You didn't commit those turnovers. You didn't even create the defensive strategy. You weren't on the floor when the team went on a 15-point run. Why didn't the coach step in and at least call timeout? Well, you don't know. You weren't there. Maybe the coach tried. Maybe the players didn't execute. Maybe the adjustments were made and they simply didn't work. Maybe there were problems happening on the court that you still don't understand. And all you know is somebody just handed you a jersey and you're down 21 points. And nobody resets the scoreboard because you just entered the game. Welcome to the organization. Organizations work the same way. When you enter a new environment, you don't start with a blank scoreboard. You inherit communication patterns. You inherit previous successes, previous fails. You inherit promises that somebody else made. You inherit compromises you weren't part of. You also inherit processes that may have made perfect sense 5 years ago. And sometimes you inherit what that person before you volunteered to do. That's why one of the biggest mistakes we make when entering a new organization is assuming we're starting at zero. Sometimes you're not starting at zero. Sometimes you're starting at negative 21, not because you've done anything wrong, because the game started before you arrived. Here's the lesson, family. Before you start questioning your ability, understand the scoreboard you inherited. Ask, what happened before I arrived? What expectations already exist and why do they exist? What problem was this behavior originally solving? What does this organization believe someone in my position should do? Because sometimes that looks dysfunctional today was completely reasonable 3 years ago. The environment changed. The expectations didn't. And before you decide who was responsible for putting those points on the board, remember, you weren't there. Study the scoreboard before deciding who caused the score. Here's 2 actionable tips I'd love for you to experiment with. Tip number 1, conducting an expectation audit before you start changing things. During your first few weeks, ask different stakeholders what they believe your role owns, what success looks like, and what they expect from you. Then compare the answers. Don't be surprised when they don't match. Those differences tell you where the invisible expectations live. Tip number 2, ask for history behind unusual process. Instead of immediately saying, "This doesn't make sense," ask, "Help me understand how we got here." That question can reveal whether you're looking at dysfunction or outdated solutions or a temporary workaround, or even maybe something you simply just don't understand. Let me say this, family. This will not be easy. I promise you, you're going to have challenge after challenge. I want to be upfront with you and I don't want to seem like it's a magic bullet by experiment with these actionable tips. What I do want to be clear on is that you must at least try. No, you must do, because if you do it, either way, you're going to learn more about the people you're working with as well as the organization. But again, I repeat, it will be a challenge. It will be an uphill battle because you're here in one moment that, hey, this is what you're responsible for. And then you're here in the next moment, hey, you missed this and this is what you're responsible for. So I have to forewarn you, you're going to have to adjust. Here's my professional advice. When you enter an established organization, resist the temptation to prove your value by immediately changing everything. Diagnose before you prescribe. Again, diagnose before you prescribe. Your responsibility isn't to demonstrate how much you know, it's to understand the environment well enough to determine whether your knowledge can actually help. But understanding the scoreboard introduces another problem, because I still had a question. If I'm experienced, if I'm successful in leading projects before, if I know what I'm doing, why doesn't my previous credibility count for me?